Are you worried about romance scams? Do you know the warning signs? And what about someone you love, like your sister or your mother? What should you look for and what should you do to help them if they're trapped in an online dating scam? Keep watching this episode of Finance is Personal. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, host of Finance is Personal. For the first time, COVID-19 has been instrumental in major changes in our daily lives. We're now working from home, we're self-isolating, and we're lonely. There have been many breakups and divorces during the pandemic as well. So with the loneliness, many are trying to find that love of their lives and are new to online dating. Today's show is about romance scams, specifically the love affair that defrauded Linda Young $150,000 and the debilitating relationship it created between Linda and her sister, Shelley Frost. Because of this horrific time of their lives, Shelley and Linda wanted to help others by writing a book. I just read this book, Her King, the Con, How an Online Love Affair Led to Near Disaster. The sisters wrote the book to share their story and to help others from falling prey to a romance scam. And they're here now. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed your book, and I really felt like I got a chance to know the two of you because of how honest the book was. Yep. Linda, I'd like to begin with you because you're an extreme nurturer.
Yes.
You're a caregiver.
Yes.
Do you believe that those are the traits that get people in trouble with romance scams?
Well, yeah, I do to a certain degree. I mean, it definitely helps as part of kind of the recipe and the profile of who these scammers will look for. And it made it easier for the person who scammed me to kind of pull me in to his story and to, you know, the whole thing that he was posing as. So I do think that can be difficult, but I also really believe that I was a perfect target because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I think that it's known that there's a lot of money here. It's Silicon Valley. And, you know, in my dating profile, I'm a professional woman. So it also goes to kind of for women to be aware when and if they decide to go onto a dating site to really edit their profile. Don't put out so much information. I put too much information out, and I think that made it a lot easier.
What's too much information?
Oh, that I was a professional woman, that I had a master's degree, that I lived in a beautiful Northern California coastal town. I mean, all of those things are red flags for, oh, she has money. Now, living here and looking at the mass wealth, I'm thinking I don't have any money. I'm in education. But I did, that's the thing, is that I didn't realize, that actually $1 million house which is what my house was worth. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I know that I answered a lot of questions with that one question, but I think it's more than just the empath. Yes, being an empath made me more vulnerable because I'm always constantly thinking of the other person's feelings all the time and not wanting to hurt anybody. I mean, I value one of my character strengths is kindness. I mean, I'm really value being a kind person. And
but I think that's important for us as human beings, and especially during COVID right now. One of the key things that I've always been saying is we need to be kind. We need to be kind to one another because everyone is going through their own personal hell.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And I focus on that. That's part of my own personal work that I work on for my future, and also just in the dealings I have with the people who are in my life. It's important for me to be with people who are kind people too, and who are loving and gentle. But that's another side of it. That being said, yes, I think it definitely helped to get under me and to get to me much faster than it would someone who might be more cynical. So yes.
So there were a few red flags that popped up. Why did you ignore them, and why did you think that you would be immune to this?
That's a really good question. I did not ignore the red flags. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was getting into something. To what degree, I pushed that away. What happened is that I'd had a couple of online dating experiences virtually. They weren't, I never met the people in person. However, one person that I had been speaking with at one point said he had to go to Malaysia for business. And then I got a call in the middle of the night that he was in an emergency and needed $5,000. Click, I hung up.
Right.
So I was somewhat, I mean, I kind of knew that there was scams out there. The person who scammed me, however, we had been communicating for quite a while before he went into the mode of, well, I have to leave the country for business. So I was already pretty roped into this person without him asking me for anything. Emails, texts, phone calls, all of the above. So when he did go out of the country, and the first time he did ask me for something, it was to send iPhones to him. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable doing that at all. And I blocked him. So I did know what was a red flag. However, I was already addicted to the warm, fuzzy feelings, just the whole out of reality based on my reality. I had a really big job, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people that I managed, a lot of people that being an empath, of course, took on a lot of their pain. And so this escape with this wonderful man, oh my gosh, it was the best vacation in the whole world. And he was very attentive. He called me a lot. He texted me a lot. We would talk in the middle of the night. So there was just so much attention there. And so that's what it was for me. It was an escape from reality. So I just stayed on that, of course. But when I did cut him off the first time he asked me for something, I was beside myself. I was grieving. I was depressed. I was upset. I missed all of that, those, wonderful feelings that would shoot through me when I saw that it was him on the phone. So a couple of weeks went by, and it was one night in the middle of the night that I just started going through my email, and I found an email that he had sent me saying, where did you go? How could you just leave me like that? If this I would never ask you to do something that you didn't feel comfortable with. I'm absolutely heartbroken, on and on and on. So of course I at that point leapt back into this situation, even knowing inside in my truth that I was getting into something that was probably most likely going to turn out to be trouble. But I did it anyway. And when I decided to do it and get back in touch with him and start communicating again, at that point, I jumped all in. So anything he asked me at that point, I was going to do.
You talk about it being an addiction. You talk about an escape. It's almost like somebody being in a really abusive relationship and needs to leave and needs to move on, but they're going to miss what's been happening to them throughout their lives. It's the Stockholm syndrome, right?
Absolutely. And you can, any article that you read that talks about an abusive relationship, looking at the top 10 signs, it's extremely similar. For example, isolating you from your family and your friends, promising that, not in this case, obviously the abuse wasn't physical. So he wasn't saying that I promise I'll never hit you again, but it was, I promise I'm going to pay you back. This is for us. This is for our future. Every time you're investing in me, you're investing in us. It was a lot of this kind of superfluous, very flowery kind of loving talk. And like I said, the attention, I'd be in meetings at work or even, out with friends, and I was getting texted, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And so when people were coming to me, like my sister, my friends, and saying, this guy is not real, he's not real, I told him that. And he said, well, it's just noise, block it out.
But it's interesting though, why would you tell him that?
Because I knew that I really did know in my heart of hearts that he was a scammer, or that he wasn't real. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it took some courage on my part, because, saying that to him was really kind of a big piece on my part. It took a lot of strength and courage to say that. And I did. I told him, my sister has a private investigator. They're investigating you. He said, go ahead, let them investigate me. They're not going to find anything, and just wait until the future when you and I are finally together and we can come out to your family and say, see, we told you all along that I'm a good guy. So, it's just reverse psychology, basically.
Yeah. So Shelley, I want to bring you in. You're Linda's sister, and you were concerned about Linda, and you asked her whether she did a background check on Scott. Why were you so concerned? Like, what were the red flags that you saw?
I am so uneducated when it comes to online dating. I know nothing about it.
Well, most people don't, though. Most people don't.
Exactly. And that's a good point. And that's another reason why we wrote the book. So I knew about the first guy in Malaysia who asked for the money and who she cut off quickly. So I knew that this was a possibility that could happen to her. So with this guy, to me, it seemed to come on hot and heavy and fast. So I thought, this is moving far too quickly. They're expressing love for each other. They've given each other loving nicknames, my queen, my king.
That's also a red flag.
Yes, because the more I learned about these scams, I realized, well, he's probably stringing along 4, 5, 10 women, and he can't keep their names straight. And so they're all his queen and he is their king. It just, so he wouldn't screw up. That was my guess.
That's a good point, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the main thing that when she could not set up a FaceTime with him, or she refused to do it, or he was unavailable, that as the weeks and months went by, the fact that they had never seen each other on a screen, looked into each other's eyes, it was so clear. But I will say, just like Linda, I wanted this to be real. I wanted her to find the love of her life. And so in the back of my mind, I'm always imagining him actually showing up. He had said he was going to get on an airplane to come here numerous times, and every time something happened. But I couldn't help but fantasize what it would be like to welcome him into our family. So, luckily, though, I was able to keep my head, and I enlisted other family members and friends to help. That was our squad to do the investigation.
So, Shelley, when did you think that Scott was a scammer? Like, how far into the relationship?
I would say this all happened at the end of 2018, going into 2019. In September, we went to Milwaukee. Linda and I went together to a friend's son's wedding. And that friend, Debbie, she's in our book.
Yeah.
She was the one who really pummeled it into me. This guy is no good. This is too creepy. I don't believe that this is real. Because I was in a fantasy land. So it was Debbie that really got me, because she texted me afterwards when I got home and she said, you need to do something. And that's when I hired the private investigator.
So I'm going to go back to Linda. You were becoming brainwashed. That's what we were talking about. You were addicted. You love the feeling of being loved. And quite frankly, we're in COVID right now. Everybody is either in lockdown, self-isolating. A lot of people are feeling loneliness right now. So you totally understand why you would feel that way. I mean, who doesn't want to be loved? We all want to be loved. We all want to have that incredible story, whether it's Prince Charming, which doesn't exist, but we all want that romantic story. And you were becoming brainwashed. Like, when did this begin, and how helpless did you feel?
So I'm not sure if helpless is the right word. It was more, let me see here for a minute if I can explain it. As I used the word escape before, it was my escape. And I had made an agreement with myself that if I was going to contact him again, that meant that I was all in. It was probably towards the beginning of that new year, 2019. No, just before that, like in December. I started to feel really nervous and more anxious, because at that point I was running out of money to send him. And he was asking me for more and asking me for more. And I was telling him, look, I don't have any more. This is as much as I can do. You're going to have to come up with some plan, or do whatever it takes. I don't have any more money. So that's when I was feeling really anxious. And and scared and nervous and wondering, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? What are we going to do next? Because I don't have any more money to send this guy. And also, if he doesn't come back at a certain time or things get postponed, how am I going to continue to survive financially? And so luckily for me, with the timing, my sister, the day that I finally really, they came and presented me with all of the facts and the information, and I was able to step out of that nightmare back into reality. I was lucky, our timing was really good. I did have some money that I never told him about, luckily, and I would say this as an advice to anybody that might be in this situation, is don't disclose everything. Hold on to something just to have in your back pocket so that whatever happens, no matter what, you have something.
That's really interesting, Linda, because as women, we all try to be professional. We all try to save as much money as we can. And yet in the back of our minds, and I know for me, for sure, I'm always worried about not having enough money. I'm always worried about, losing my house or living on the street. And, the old school bag lady, we all go through that. And yet you actually went through this and you had an emergency fund, which they tell you to have. And thank God you didn't say anything to him about it.
I almost did because I wanted that feeling to continue, that happy, wonderful feeling, and that I was doing everything that he wanted, that I was coming through for him every single time. And he would just, turn on the love. Oh, you're the best, you're the greatest, you're building our empire, it's going to be the king and we're building our kingdom, you're the queen and I'm the king. And it just felt so wonderful. I do thank myself for the fact that I did hold on to that bit of money and didn't put that into it, that I always kind of kept that in the background of, of my mind, saying, no, no matter what, this is my safety belt for no matter what could possibly happen, even for him and I. In my mind, because I was so brainwashed, I thought, wow, isn't he going to be surprised when he realizes I have a little chunk of money left over that I didn't give him to all these projects in Cuba, so that we have something to rely on. So I even incorporated that little bit of money wove that into the whole thing to justify me holding on to it because of the fact that I was so brainwashed. And then again, the timing worked out beautifully. Any little bit more, and I would have been completely
in deeper trouble.
And in trouble. Yeah.
Shelley, there other people have had a similar story. However, they haven't been as brave as Linda to come out and disclose it to people. And I know that you guys are out here. You want to share the story because you want to help future online daters from becoming romance scam victims. So, Shelley, how does someone go about helping a family member or a friend when you see that this is happening and you're rational and they're not?
Right. Well, I think, first of all, with Google, you can do a lot of searches. You can find out a lot of information. And one thing that I didn't realize at the time was that I couldn't find this guy online, no matter where I looked: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Well, I did find a fake profile of him on LinkedIn, but the more that you realize you can't find any evidence of the guy is more proof that he doesn't exist.
Right.
So there's that. Also, when you do suspect that a family member is involved, and they probably have confessed to you their new relationship, they're probably very excited about it. And then as you press them and as you question them, they might pull back. That's what happened with my sister and I. She just shut me down, refused to let me talk to her about him at a point in time, which the end of 2018.
And this is a time where they should be proud and say, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to meet him, or you can't wait to talk about him.
She was like that at first, but the more I questioned, the more I, seemed doubtful, the more she pulled away. So when you talk to your loved one, you really need to use good language. I even, in the book, we have a page that suggests things you could say, such as, funny. I was thinking the opposite was true. So you don't want to be accusatory, and you want to be loving, and you want to remain calm. Linda always told me afterwards that, if to do an intervention with someone down the road or down the rabbit hole of one of these things, you want to remain calm. But another thing you could say is, I remember when you and I were more in agreement on major issues like this one. So you just want to make them feel like you're on the same level, again, not accusatory, not putting them in a box, but that you're together on this effort. And also, that sounds like bad behavior to me. So, just giving them an opening to reflect and agree without them feeling judged. With my sister growing up, and it's expressed clearly in the book, she never wanted our judgment on her decisions in life. It was so, she made it crystal clear for all of our life that that was the one thing she couldn't handle us doing. When I say us, myself and my mother. So we always tiptoed on eggshells with Linda. We never wanted her to feel judged, to retreat, to feel criticized. So again, with this situation, it was so hard because of that rule that she set. It just made it twice as hard for me to get through to her. But he was also isolating her from us too, very intentionally. And he was grooming her. That's a whole nother thing that these scammers do. They groom their targets to keep them away from family members. And so I had to deal with all of that as well. I did find evidence during my investigation, real solid evidence that he was a scammer. By that, I mean addresses that he had given Linda, and she supplied to us, which was very helpful. She did supply me with information when I asked, but those addresses were fakes and phonies. And I told her about these addresses. She in turn told her man about these addresses. Look, you have lied to me. What's going on here? And then he would placate her and have excuses and reasons and draw her back in. So no matter what I found, nothing was getting through to her until the final piece of evidence. And I don't know if you want me to talk about that right now, but that was sort of the culmination.
We're talking about, how you found this out. So yeah, put it in there.
Okay. So I had a full-time job myself. I really was neglecting my job. And so I was going to give up. I've been doing this for 2 months. I'd hired 2 private eyes. I had just I spent a lot of money on the investigation, and she wasn't listening. I couldn't do anything. I was feeling helpless. My family was fed up with me always online and doing the investigation. They were fed up with my whole, I was so sad. I was very emotional about it. One night I'm ready to give up, and I noticed on a photo that Linda had sent me of her man, he was wearing a t-shirt. And it had a logo of a gym on it. And I thought to myself, okay, logo of a gym, I'm gonna just check it out. Turns out it existed in Los Angeles, this gym. I contacted our squad, all the gals involved. One of them got on Instagram, found the gym, found a photo of Linda's man posing with Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had come into the gym that day. Lo and behold, her man was the manager of this gym. His profile on Instagram, we deduced, had been stolen.
Yeah.
We knew that was not really Scott William Hall. Yeah. And I will not disclose his name for his own privacy. But that was it. Then I found on that Instagram profile, we found all the photos he had sent Linda over those months. So that now we knew that this would convince her, this was it. And so the very next day, my mother and her husband, Ron, who my sister loves and adores, got in the car and surprised Linda at 4:00 in the afternoon after she got home from work. She knew that this was bad news for us to just show up on her doorstep. And we disclosed to her, showed her the Instagram profile. And it was heartbreaking because I didn't want to break her heart. I didn't want to implode her life because I knew how much in love she was with him. But what choice did we have?
So ladies, on that note, we're going to end part 1 of this program. And everyone stay tuned because we're coming back for part 2. This is the end of part 1 of Romance Scams with Shelley Frost and Linda Young, authors of For King the Con. Please click on the link to watch part 2. And while you're here, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.